Hey, how's it going, everybody? We just had another major go down for Europe, the final one actually of the season. Spring split major for Europe. All that's left is the final 6 teams in the RLCS for that region. So in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the major that went down this past weekend, and to no surprise, BDS is really good. What's up, everybody? Lawler here, your inside source for all things Rocket League. Today's video, we're going to be talking about a couple different things. First and foremost, I'm going to be talking about the European major that went down for the spring split, the last one of the season. And for the second thing, what it actually means for the results. There is some differences and some importance to, obviously, the placements of certain teams during this, because it determines who plays who in the RLCS X Championship. So we'll have to talk about that and discuss the placements and how that all plays out. So without further ado, let's actually get into it. We're going to be talking about group stage first. If you want to take a look at the results, Group A and Group B are as follows. In Group A, you got Team BDS, Team Queso, Vitality, German Amigos, and BS Plus Competition. Those are in order, as you can see, in regards to the results. BDS, absolutely perfect, and Solar on the other side in Group B, absolutely perfect, followed by Guild, SK Gaming, Top Blokes, and White Demons. As for the results, things go as expected. The only thing that did catch me off guard, I did have expectations that BS Plus was going to beat out German Amigos, but even with a win head-to-head, game differential is what matters more. That is the tiebreaker that you see in the third column, is showing how many wins versus losses that they have. And German Amigos does perform better over the course of all their matches in comparison to BS Plus, even though they lose the head-to-head. You want to reward the team that has better results over the course of multiple matches rather than just the initial one. And if they're still tied after all those, then you look at the head-to-head, and that's the way the tiebreakers work. So BS Plus not qualifying was actually pretty surprising. German Amigos does end up moving forward. In Group B, it's a little bit different, a lot closer actually in the matches. For those that don't know, SK Gaming has joined the scene. I'll be talking about that more in detail in tomorrow's video. If you guys didn't see the video, I think it was yesterday, the day before, we had a prediction assuming that Aether was going to get picked up by SK Gaming, which they have, so pretty good stuff there. We've got some other things to determine and talk about as well with that. That will be out, like I said, in a video tomorrow. So this side of the groups were very, very close. The biggest thing to take away is actually with Solary and how well they were playing. It was actually a pretty clean series in all of their matches, and it was good to see that Solary started to look significantly better. There's been a lot of scrutiny following particular players in general. I asked you guys about Vitality in particular and about people who have been being like, yo, K-Dop's washed, he's got to go. Do you want me to rant about it? Which you guys were like, heck yeah. So I will definitely be doing a video on that. But another player that's kind of in the same regard has been Farah. Solary obviously has kind of been up and down, and initially on paper, they needed some offense. They brought an Astral. Everybody thought they were going to be incredible. And it's good to see that at the very end of the season, they are showing their true potential. Because Solary did look incredible, not only in groups, but also in the playoffs, which I'll get into a little bit here. But other than that, middle of the pack, Guild has been playing really well lately, and they continue to show that. Team Vitality just feels like they don't care. When you're K-Dop, who is, you know, he's been going to every World Championship grand final since Season 3, and all of a sudden there's no online event, no international play. Your only ambition is to lift the trophy again for the, you know, 4th time, but it kind of just diminishes your desire to continue to play for the game. And then IWO gets announced, and that same thing happens. So Team Vitality, although competitive, just doesn't feel like they are putting in the emphasis or the effort as some of the other teams like Solary, who have a little bit more to play for, and that continues to show. But still, even with that said, they're still 2-2. Like, they're a really good team. But yeah, pretty even across the board. Similar results, but ultimately it is White Demons that does fall to the gauntlet. I guess that is Group B, is pretty competitive. If we look at the playoff bracket, this is where it gets interesting. So because Top Blokes does take 4th place in the group, they've got to go up against BDS first, something that they have done numerous times. And it is unfortunate for them because they do put up a pretty good fight. There's 3 overtimes in this series. It's pretty close overall. And the series does go back and forth. Eventually, it does feel like BDS starts a little bit slow. And if you can catch them off guard in that regard, cool. But as the series progresses, especially in a best of 7, it just doesn't feel like BDS is going to lose. They continuously, despite Archie at one point only having 1 goal in the series, I think he ended up increasing that at one point. But like, it was pretty late in the series until he got a goal. And it felt like Archie having to do a lot of the work in the midfield to apply that pressure. And because he wasn't scoring, they were having a really difficult time. And a lot of that has to do with a precedent that BDS sets for the entire weekend, which is we are going to control boost. If you really want to watch why BDS is so strong, part of it is the boost game, because players are playing so quickly now and they are putting a lot of emphasis on challenges and being aggressive. Boost is what determines like 99% of that. I'm sure it's better percentages if you really want to think about it, but positioning and boost control is like everything. And BDS just dominates that. There's so many times where they're allowed to apply continuous pressure and teams are just left in defense watching because they don't have any boost. So BDS's boost control is what really allowed them to dominate throughout the entire weekend. Unfortunately for Top Blokes, they are on the receiving end of it, and Archie cannot stand tall enough to get it done. Cassio does try to do a lot of different things, but both him and Flame are just not able to really find the net. Some of the shots were a little bit off, and it just continues to double down on the whole mentality of having lack of boost. When you're trying to basically panic at everything, you're rushing to get to a position because you're low on boost, and then you go for a hit. It's not going to be the one with power and from a good position. So unfortunately, not able to get it done there. We then drop down to the next one between Guild and Vitality, which I will say and emphasize that this is probably one of the best majors when it comes to the final playoff day. Every match was super exciting. There was a couple that were pretty one-sided, but ultimately, like, the gameplay that happened throughout the entire day was just impeccable. So Guild Vitality does go back and forth pretty convincingly. Another 4 overtimes in this one. It does eventually go to game 7, and the surprising thing is Vitality is down 1-3 in the series with Guild at match point. They do win both game 5 and 6 to bring it to game 7, and ultimately Guild does win. There's a couple times where both teams, Vitality and Guild, felt like they could have closed it out, but it just felt like they were allowing each other to get back into the series, which made it super entertaining. Primarily, a lot of it does fall on the ability of Nolly and Tho, but Devo has been making a lot of really clutch saves and stepping up more and more, which is really good to see. And it feels like a Guild that has finally solidified themselves in their roles. It feels like the team has really come together, and credit to obviously the coach and Gregan and what they're trying to develop over there. But it feels like Guild is now meshing. They're a lot more aggressive, way less passive in their decisions, and it's applying a ton of pressure. It reminds me of a team like XSET over in North America, where when they're playing fast and being aggressive, you don't see the overlap or the double commits as much. People are able to just kind of get an ebb and flow. And you're seeing that out of Guild, which is really exciting, because I was wondering if they're going to have a repeat occurrence of their last event where they are surprising some rosters. And it's good to see, even with a break, they're still on track. So glad to see some consistency out of Guild at the top half. Unfortunately for Vitality, it just feels like they aren't playing or practicing or putting as much emphasis on these. And even though they still play to win, the prep work that goes into it feels to be on the much lesser side. We then go to Solary versus German Amigos, and Solary makes quick work. A lot of people were asking me, and I'll talk about this in the semifinal, how I felt about Solary. And you could tell in this game, Solary was playing to win. They had that eye test that we look out for, where everybody's being aggressive, people are hitting their shots. I'm calling out things they need to do, and they do them. I said in particular, like, yo, you guys are getting beat to certain situations. You need to go for a dribble play. Immediately, Astro goes for a dribble play, flicks it up to Shawzette, puts up a double touch. And it's like, exactly, you control the field, you force these things to happen. And it's like these split-second decisions. And it's credit to not only their mental coach trying to keep them in the right place, but also Farah. Like I mentioned earlier, Farah is under a lot of scrutiny, and I don't necessarily agree with it. I think what he does for this team is impeccable. And any French team that in the future gets to pick up Farah as a full-time coach is probably going to win a world championship. The guy's got a crazy mind for the game, and the fact that he's doing it while also playing at the highest level is impeccable. So Astral having a really good field day. Shawzette also feeling it. Astral and Shawzette in particular in groups were really, really clicking. And Farah stepped up huge today. So glad to see all three players on Solary coming together. They do push into the semifinals, but the question was going to be, well, can they push into the grand finals finally? As they've been in these moments before numerous times, but it's always escaped them. In the fourth and final series is going to be Team Queso and SK Gaming in the last quarterfinal. And this one, again, a bunch of OTs. There's 2 in particular. The first one was 5+ minutes, and it looked like it could have went either way. But again, nothing too particular that really stood out to me in this one, other than the fact that SK Gaming was playing confident. This team recently picked up, obviously has a lot to play for. I don't know if it's a team house or a team facility in the cameras. I don't know if they're staying there full time or if it's just for the major. But SK Gaming has got to be happy with the performance of these lads. Another team that, like the leftovers, where Farah actually used to be, was Snasky, who Snasky, coincidentally enough, is now the coach of SK Gaming. has basically found 3 players that are leftovers from their teams, where Yukio obviously being in the position he was no longer. You've got Ixo coming from Galaxy Racer, and everything else culminating to bring a just solid team. Clean rotations, lack of hesitation, and just aggressive. And despite saying that, it's their defense that really ties it together. Primarily, if I got to point out one player, I don't know if I should say Tox or Ixo, because Tox is popping off on defense in the first series. Second series, it's Ixo. And we'll talk about it if we look into the next semifinal between Solary and SK Gaming. I don't know how SK Gaming ended up losing this one, because the defense and the amount of times that SK Gaming is like, oh shoot, we're in a bad spot, and then just an incredible save by someone on the defense, transitioned the other way. It's a good shot and it's efficient. And I say that, but both these teams are hitting like 11 plus shots at sometimes in some of their series. It was insane. But SK Gaming, man, their defense was incredible, but they pair it with really good offense as well. Eventually, it does come down to the wire. Again, another really exciting series. The first 3 games of this best of 7 that went the distance were all overtime. So game 1 was 1 minute, 4 seconds. Game 2 is 4:15. And game 3 was 31 seconds. We do get to the point similar to the Vitality series, where Solary is down 1-3 in the series against SK Gaming, and then they battle back 3-1, 3-0, 3-2, and win it in 7. The big moment for me was there was a pass, I think, from Pharaoh where he pre-jumped the sidewall, passed it perfectly behind him back inside, and Shawzat just slams one from midfield. They tied up 2-2 and then just managed to keep it going. So yeah, really good series. Probably my favorite. I call that lower semifinal, the SK versus Solary, like the true grand final, because that series was just incredible. If you want to go back and watch one, that is definitely the one to watch for the weekend. On the top side of the bracket, jumping back to BDS versus Guild. Guild just gets outclassed. Again, boost control again by BDS. They continue to do what they do. And Guild, although very talented, just seems to get outclassed here. It's not that Guild plays poorly. It's just BDS is, as the title says, built different. There was one overtime in this series as well. A lot of close games. You're talking goal differential wise. Only one game, which is game 5, is not a 1 goal differential, which was 4-2. Everything else was within 1 goal. So again, a very close series. Guild has been playing very well. And do not want to diminish those results, because they are competing at the highest level and barely losing to BDS, which is something that they should be proud of. We then go to the grand final, and this one at the certain point is just like, I don't know what happened with Solary. They just kind of seem to turn it off. A lot of it, though, has to, again, do with the thing I initially mentioned, which is the boost control. This game really came down to when the team was able to get a little bit more aggressive, primarily Astral, who was going for a bunch of demos, and Shawzat on rotation. They were able to stop BDS controlling the boost so well, and then they could get goals and kind of bring it the other way. But for the most part, BDS just controlled the field. It's what they do, and they do it so well. Positioning-wise, Mark by 8 in particular, who is a phenomenal player at half rotating, if you guys know what I mean. In a typical rotation with 1, 2, 3, the first player goes in and either creates a challenge or an opportunity for the teammate who's either behind him or next to him for a pass, and then they rotate through, either deny boost, go for a demo, whatever it is, and then rotate all the way out. Mark by 8, when he does it, instead of rotating all the way out back to his net, he ends up going into the midfield, hitting the midfield boost, and then turning back in to apply pressure. And his positioning and that little bit of extra turning and applying that pressure, that midfield rotation or cutting that rotation, is just what allows them to apply so much pressure. And it gives a lot of freedom for the guys in back, whether it be Monkey Moon or Extra, to just line up the perfect shot and have tons of time to pick the optimal moment to really apply pressure, or really put that chef's kiss of a shot on target. And BDS just does it so well. And even when they're on defense, they just don't panic. It's really commendable to watch them, and I need to see this team on LAN. So it's unfortunate that this is the way it's going to culminate with a regional event again for $400,000, which brings me to the last thing. BDS does end up winning 4-1. But let's actually take a look at the rankings. If you take a look at the rankings page for just Europe during the spring split, because Solary does end up going into a really good spot at the end there, they do bump themselves up. But the overall results are kind of what matter the most. The biggest thing is if Solary would have won the grand final, that would have bumped them up to 4th place. But because they lose, they are still behind Guild, which puts them in 5th. The scariest thing about this is the way that the bracket ends up working out. And if you guys don't know how the final playoff format is going to be for the RLCS X Championship, I do recommend going and watching my video on that. It is a best of set format and a page playoff format. So teams get certain buys and then you play each other, and the difference between playing, you know, the 1, 2, 3 seed versus otherwise can make a huge difference. So Solary does bump themselves up quite a bit with the results here, which again, if you can dodge someone like BDS or Vitality, it's not a bad idea. So that is going to wrap it up for your recap here for today. If you guys do have any additional questions, comments, or concerns, make sure you drop those down below. Got some fun stuff planned, trying to do some Rocket Talk stuff. Obviously want to do an interview with Scrubkilla. We've got some more news things coming up as well in the near future. But if you guys have any things you would like to suggest, I will do a Q&A video most likely this week because it has been a little bit. We've also got the NA Major coming up this weekend, so we'll make sure to do predictions as well as power rankings and stuff for that. If you guys want to join us, we do those on stream, twitch.tv/Lawler, where I stream every day but Tuesday. If we would like to come and hang out, a lot of you guys have been transferring over, which I greatly appreciate. But that is going to do it for this video. If you guys enjoy the content, give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, share with your friends, and I'll see you next time. Peace.